Hi everyone, it's Dr. Ramani. Welcome back to this YouTube channel on narcissism and narcissistic relationships and healing from narcissistic relationships. So let's talk about the three major struggles that may come up when you're deciding whether or not to end a relationship or kind of more permanently disconnect from a relationship with a narcissistic person. So let's open this video up with a question. You can drop in the notes, it was a chat if you want. What has made leaving a narcissistic relationship hard for you? And what is making it hard for you now if you're even grappling with this decision? So think on that. Because ending a relationship is hard, and ending a narcissistic relationship can feel impossible. So let's break this down in a very, very simple way for you to understand why this is so difficult. Okay? Ready? It's 3 words. The way we can break this down are 3 words: don't, can't, and won't. So let's start with can't, okay? Because this is the easiest to understand. You don't leave because you can't leave. It may be dangerous. It may be financially unfeasible. There may be issues with minor children and the whole abyss with family court and all of that. Culturally, it might put you in a risky position or may even be impossible to do within your cultural system without risking such collateral damage that you're simply trading problems. Not everybody can leave. Our systems aren't set up for it. Family court doesn't care what's healthy for a kid in terms of a parent's personality. They just split the kid, and the narcissistic folks are often allowed to weaponize these systems too. Not everyone has enough money. Okay, so most of us don't have enough money. And especially if you live in parts of this country where real estate is very expensive, even if there aren't these, issues, even if it's not like you don't have, it's like you have enough money, but not a lot of money. Starting again for some folks, first month's rent, security deposits, especially if you've been out of the workplace for a while, can also be very difficult. Or even if you were just kept in the dark about the finances or whatever. And then there's, of course, the realities of post-separation abuse, the behaviors that happen when a person leaves an abusive relationship of any kind. And this can include stalking and surveillance, smear campaigns, punitive and harassing divorces, and legal actions. I have worked with many clients over the years who will say that what they endured as part of that whole period of time of post-separation abuse was psychologically worse than what happened while they were in the relationship. And they white-knuckled it, the whole post-separation abuse, and got to the other side. But there were many days when they wondered if they made a mistake. So all the things I'm just talking about is the can't. I can't leave. And it's real. And I'm sick and tired of people asking people in any form of abusive relationship, why don't you leave? They don't leave because it's not that easy. Now we're going to talk about don't. Inertia is real in any relationship. Dismantling relationships, especially long-term relationships, carries lots of logistics, stuff and money and people who are affected. And then there's also shared history, nostalgia, the idea of the devil you know, all of that. So even when a not narcissistic relationship has sort of outlived its shelf life, people stick around. Sometimes you stay in that relationship in a quiet contempt that spans the rest of your life. The don't of leaving is different than the can't of leaving. The don't is the, okay, it's almost the holidays. Let me just wait for a few more months, or I'm just going to wait until I have more of my ducks in a line, or I'm going to wait until I have more money saved up, or I'm just going to wait till I lose some weight. Sometimes don't and can't collide, right? Some folks may wait until minor children turn 18 or are in a position to have their wishes of where to live be heard by a court. So the can't, because of those restrictions, meets up with the don't, because you want to wait a little longer. The don't is a sort of narcissistic relationship purgatory. It's the equivalent of a bunch of unpacked boxes in a corner, even though you've lived in a house for 20 years. Or it's the bills you need to get to and you keep forgetting, or the piles of dirty laundry, or that broken fence that you keep meaning to fix. It's the, I know this relationship is toxic and awful, and I can't stand it, and I want to get out of it, and I hate it, but the not finding a way. Apathy is a very real part of the fallout of a narcissistic relationship. There is sort of a fatigue meets exhaustion, meets why bother, meets maybe I don't deserve more than this thought pattern that can really keep people in the don't. The familiar is toxically seductive. So the don't is actually why a lot of people have a hard time leaving. They don't, they could, they don't, and you can get stuck. But then there's the won't. And the won't is where the trauma bond really kicks in. When you talk with a trauma-bonded person, a person who at a conscious cognitive level may feel that the relationship is unhealthy, but it feels impossible to leave, many will say that they feel a sense of panic at leaving. The trauma-bonded layer cake means that at a primitive base level, it feels like a core abandonment wound, an attachment insecurity being played out. And then as the higher layers of the trauma bond pile up, some of the more cognitive stuff comes up. What if they change? What if they change for a new person? What if they meet a new person and they're so happy and I'm alone forever, having to watch them be happy? It's a mix of all of that. The won't is a sense that no matter how bad this relationship is, ending it leaves a person feeling somatically, physically, and emotionally unsettled and sick. This isn't the Cant fear of the post-separation abuse. This is the, I just won't leave because then, and then you fill in the blank. Remember, none of these can'ts, won'ts, don'ts, relationships, any of it happen in isolation. The can't, don't, and won't occur together. So the fears about minor children come up against the not wanting to disrupt a life that has a decent routine on some days, comes up against the sense of panic of how can I live without this? Can't, don't, won't. With those three factors in place, it really is a wonder that anyone ever leaves a toxic relationship. All of this is why leaving a narcissistic relationship is an entirely different game than leaving a non-narcissistic relationship, because those relationships can fade too. In those cases, there may be some can't, there may be some don't want to break up a family, may not be able to afford household expenses. There can be some don't, man, we both like our jobs, nobody hates anyone, I wish it were different, but right now it's a split vote kind of thing. And then won't isn't as much of a thing. The won't is where the ambivalence and the confusion about leaving a narcissistic relationship really gets difficult. In non-narcissistic relationships, you are balancing more of the can't and the don't, some of which passes with time, and most of which is not stealing your soul and your identity. Listen, there's a lot of content out there that will say things like 4 signs for detecting that you're in a narcissistic relationship. Now leave. I suppose if you're young and you're not living with someone and you don't have kids and you don't have lives that are intertwined, then sure, go for it. Just leave. And even then, some of that won't may pop up for you. But this message of, oh, they're narcissistic, so just leave, it can leave people who choose or have to stay in narcissistic relationships, or who feel scared to leave them or panicked to leave them. It leaves those folks feeling as though that they are weak or that they have let themselves down. Can't, don't, and won't are one hell of a triumvirate, because even if you address one of them, the other two are really powerful forces. So even if you get therapy and really address the trauma bond, the post-separation abuse or the family court stuff, the can't, if you will, is still an issue. Even if you address the can't, your kids get older, you get your finances sorted, the won't can keep you stuck. The comfort of the don't, of the status quo, means that even if some of the can'ts get dealt with, then addressing that inertia and the don't, because you don't want the status quo to go, and the trauma bond of the won't, it's a bitch. Be kind to yourself. In a way, not leaving is like getting mad at yourself for not being able to fly on your own power. Gravity is a powerful force. That's not happening. Can't, don't, and won't are the gravity of the narcissistic relationship. So you may wonder, where do I start? Start with the won't. Because once the won't gets addressed, you can get to radical acceptance. You can see the relationship and what's happening in it more clearly. It doesn't mean that co-parenting will magically become easier, or that family court will be more fair, or that $1 million will drop into your bank account. It means that you are not making decisions from a primally pulled sense of, I need this person in my life to feel whole. I feel panicked at leaving it. Once you recognize that you are more whole without them, then you're in a better position to navigate the can'ts and the don'ts. And remember that leaving is a little bit of a challenging term. Some of you may never physically leave the relationship, and even then, getting that won't in order is key. Because the workarounds, the creating a life in which you have support, you can be individuated and have meaning and purpose separate from them, you need to clear the won't away. Leaving may not mean physically moving out or getting a divorce or going no contact, but it may be a radical acceptance-fueled disengagement. And I get it. I see it. This relationship is limited and impoverished. And while there may be some lifelong grief around that, it beats the hell out of being chronically emotionally invalidated and manipulated and forever wondering if it's your fault, or spending a lifetime trying to appease and win them over, or living a life in a false hope that this could get better. You can at least just stop giving a damn about their one-sided universe when you address that won't and you bring in radical acceptance. Does this model apply to other relationships? Yes. Disengaging from toxic family members, narcissistic friends, narcissistic workplaces, narcissistic colleagues. It's very similar. It's the same model where you have to weigh out the can'ts, the don'ts, and the won'ts. Trauma bonding may be a little less at play in a workplace, but if you have a history of trauma-bonded relationships, the mental challenges of leaving any invalidating relationship, feeling that you don't have the right to leave the relationship, wondering if you are sort of wondering like, who the heck do I think I am that I deserve more? It can make these choices and situations more vexing. 3 words, folks: can't, don't, won't, can help guide you into more self-compassion and clarity. Thanks again.